Multiple New York Knicks insiders have revealed the team's master plan going down the stretch into the playoffs after a wild All-Star break that saw a lot of injury updates to this New York Knicks team, and discussing how it is going to impact the rest of this season and the playoffs, the lineups they'll be using, and the impact it'll have on other players as well who are healthy right now, and we're going to break all of it down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And if you guys are enjoying the content and you're part of that 68% of viewers who's not subscribed right now, this is the place to be for all New York Knicks updates, news, rumors, fun live streams you guys don't want to miss out. So make sure to subscribe, but let's jump into the video because we have a lot to discuss. Tom Thibodeau has a plan for this New York Knicks roster, and it has been revealed by multiple insiders discussing what he's going to do with Mitchell Robinson, what he's going to do with Karl-Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby's injury. There's a bunch to go over with this New York Knicks lineup right now because it is going to have a huge impact on the rest of the New York Knicks season, how far they can go in the playoffs, and obviously what feels like a completely unstoppable pathway to the Knicks facing the Celtics in the second round of the playoffs. So let's jump into all that because Ian Begley spoke out on this, saying that Mitchell Robinson will be brought along slowly in a reserve role, and the Knicks will want to take a long look at lineups featuring both Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, this was widely expected by most that the team would look to pair Mitchell Robinson with Karl-Anthony Towns. Towns has been very, very good this season as the Knicks center. He's been one of the best players in the NBA. It's why he was an all-star starter. It's why he's been this good. I mean, just to take a look at Karl-Anthony Towns' numbers real quick, the man has been unstoppable, putting up 24.7 points per game, 13 rebounds per game, 3 assists, also getting nearly a block and 1 steal per game. On top of all that, shooting 44% from 3 and 53% from the field while shooting 45% on corner threes. Karl-Anthony Towns has been an unstoppable force this season. However, he is sort of playing out of position, at least defensively. Towns does struggle at the 5, and we are going to talk about that more later in the video, as that is a big, big part of this team's master plan essentially unfolding, so we will discuss that in a little bit. But just to go over the way that this is going to have an impact, having Towns at the 4 is definitely going to be helpful. Having Mitchell Robinson out there is going to be a huge, huge difference maker for the New York Knicks, and it appears that Robinson is on the way back pretty soon. Now, it was revealed by James Edwards that once OG Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson return, he believes that Tom Thibodeau is going to regularly play a 9-man rotation, with Shamet likely being the odd man out. Shamet's been in and out of the rotation anyway, so that's not too surprising. And on top of that, Edwards does mention that there may be some nights when Shamet gets in, but if everyone is healthy and the Knicks are in a tight game, it feels like a 9-man rotation is the safe bet. Fans have been calling for this all season, myself included. The 8-man rotation just does not feel sustainable in an 82-game NBA season when you then have to go into the playoffs. So I love the fact that they're going to have a 9-man rotation down the stretch. It should lead to some less minutes for a lot of key New York Knicks guys, especially guys who have been playing crazy minutes this season, like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby specifically, but also it'll have an impact on the bench minutes, specifically Precious Achiuwa and Deuce McBride, the 2 guys who have been featured the most off the bench this season. So it is going to have an impact on that. I mean, Mitchell Robinson coming in as another big man. Precious either plays the 4 or the 5. Now, Precious and Mitch did play together last season. They shared the floor for a bit, so Tibbs is not afraid of doing that. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. Will they rather always have one of Precious or Towns or Mitch out there with Towns because Towns is shooting? Because Precious is pretty much going to be done playing the 5 after Mitchell Robinson is healthy, because Mitch is going to be coming off the bench, according to Begley, who does mention it's going to be a slow burn to bring Mitchell Robinson back, which is absolutely the correct move right now. You want Mitch healthy in the playoffs, so you just got to get him ready for the playoffs, and there's just a lot of thought that he's going to be on a minutes restriction anyway. Now, jumping into that and just discussing Mitch and just a deeper light on that minutes restriction, Edwards did mention that he's under the impression that Mitchell Robinson will be on a minutes restriction when he gets back, and it's more of a hunch on his. It's not a guarantee, but it's hard to imagine a 7-footer coming off several surgeries who hasn't played in almost a year just able to go out there and play 23-plus minutes right away. So, with all that in mind, there's a chance the rotation looks a little funky when they work Robinson back in, as he'll probably be playing around 15 minutes per game, so there will be times where he's in, and then Precious will also be playing center and Towns. So there's probably going to be 3 different centers throughout the game, which is essentially the funky lineup of it all. But when he's a full go, assuming that no one else is down with an injury, Edwards does believe that the 9-man rotation is going to close out the regular season, so exactly what the New York Knicks need, and given it's all a process for the New York Knicks at the end of the day. And on top of this, Edwards said that he genuinely doesn't think that playing the 4 matters to Karl Anthony Towns, so he'll gladly slide down to that role. And it's hard to ignore that Towns' most successful season as a pro came while playing alongside a 7-foot defensive center in Rudy Gobert, and he thinks that Towns is self-aware enough to understand that he's not an elite rim protector and that he does have some limitations in that pick-and-roll coverage. We know a lot about Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, the man is phenomenal when it comes to being an offensive center, but the defense is lacking. Teams drive at Towns with absolutely no fear, and it is causing teams like the Atlanta Hawks put up 148 points on the Knicks. Meanwhile, they're only hitting 13, 14, 15 threes, so it's not like they're just getting barraged from downtown. And the Knicks, they have to give cushion on a lot of these threes to prevent one-on-ones at the rim with Karl Anthony Towns being the last line of defense, because he's not a very good last line of defense. However, when you factor in Mitchell Robinson, then you have a really good final line of defense who is ready to go, who is that exact player that the New York Knicks desperately need there. So that is going to be huge for this team. Having Mitchell Robinson on the New York Knicks playing in that role is going to be a massive, massive thing for the team, because they're just going to get this chance where they could truly just have an elite rim protector, hide Karl Anthony Towns completely on defense. And yes, Towns will still get attacked in pick and rolls during the playoffs. Just expect teams constantly trying to figure out ways to attack Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns in a pick and roll setting. However, the Knicks will be able to work around it. They run a trap defense, so Mitchell Robinson likely will be there. And depending on matchups, you could have Mitchell Robinson slide over and play help. The problem is a team like the Boston Celtics, who's going to try to manipulate those screens as much as possible while not letting Mitch be able to come off his man, because of big men such as Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, both being shooting big men. When Luke Kornet's out there, it's not a problem. Luke Kornet can hit threes, but he doesn't shoot them anymore. So he's not really a concern from deep. I know he was when he was on the New York Knicks. Sorry, I have to keep reaching up because my ring light's going to fall. It is heavily broken, but that's beside the point. The New York Knicks right now, they need Mitchell Robinson back so their defense can become real and a real threat again, because it's solid. I mean, they have great on-ball defense in OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, but what OG and Mikal do, it's just not feeling sustainable right now, and it feels like they're not as good as they should be, and that's because they have to play more help defense to help out Karl Anthony Towns, so it's impacting their ability to play this one-on-one defense. Now, once all is good and everyone is healthy, when OG's back, when Mitchell Robinson's back, both of which should be soon, then I think we're going to see the Knicks defense take a massive leap, because Robinson does prevent people just driving at the rim with reckless abandon, because they know that Mitch is going to win that battle. He's won that battle so many times in the past that that's going to continue to happen. Now, it was also mentioned by James Edwards that assuming Towns and Robinson are part of the closing lineup, New York will have to figure out spacing offensively. If Robinson is in the dunker spot, that means he has a chance to clean up misses that Towns had as a driver, but it also means another defender who's likely a big man is closer to the bucket and can block Towns' shot. This is a double-edged sword. It fixes your defense so much to have Mitchell Robinson out there in the closing lineup, which we also have to discuss for a second. But on top of that, it does prevent more drives to the hoop. Now, a guy like Towns, I'm not that worried about. Towns is not afraid of getting contact, and he hits his free throws, and he fights through contact really well, and definitely has this season. So it's a really good sign that you're like, okay, let Towns drive at someone at the rim. He's likely going to draw a foul because he's so big, the contact is going to get forced, and it'll lead to Towns' free throws. When it comes to a guy like a Jalen Brunson or a Mikal Bridges, who are more finesse than anything, it is more worrisome when there's a big guy down there. Yes, Jalen Brunson is able to use the head fakes to usually draw fouls, so it's not going to be a problem. Also, he works in that middle area. I don't exactly want to say mid-range because it's like right after the free throw line, but also before the restricted area, where Brunson's able to kind of stop, get bumped on the back, and throw the floater up, which has been a very successful move of his to prevent rim protection from getting to him, while also drawing a foul anyway on his defender. So we've seen that work. We've also seen Jalen Brunson against the Atlanta Hawks, a team that has good rim protecting centers in Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu, just essentially not have to do anything because Jalen Brunson's just cooking elite defenders like Dyson Daniels all over the court anyway, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The Knicks have Jalen Brunson, and that just gives them a huge advantage that does kind of prevent that offensive issue. And meanwhile, the defense gets better. The Knicks don't have to worry as much about defense and rebounding in the ends of games, which has caused them some issues in closeout games. Now, they've been good in closeout games, in games where it's essentially clutch situations, where it's 5 or less point difference with under 5 minutes left in the game. The Knicks are 12-7. That's the third best record in the NBA, or maybe the second. It's top 3. So you look at the Knicks, they definitely can handle it already. Having Mitchell Robinson out there, it would be interesting to see him in closeout lineups because it does have an impact on the Knicks. Who's the odd man out then? with this team if Robinson's in the closeout lineups. I mean, it's likely not going to be Mikal Bridges because he's the best corner three-point shooter in the NBA. It's hard to imagine it's OG Anunoby because the elite defense he plays. So that leaves Josh Hart, who it's hard to imagine Tibbs is going to take Josh Hart out of a closing lineup. And outside of that, it's just the two all-star starters in Brunson and Towns. So I'm curious if Mitch is actually going to be in closing lineups. It's probably going to be all matchups based, and whoever's hot out of the... Yeah, my light almost fell, so I just had a complete spaz attack. But whoever's hot in the moment, that is going to be who the Knicks go to and who kind of gets benched. Whoever's not having a good game, whether it's OG, Mikal, Josh Hart. We'll see maybe one of them come off. Let me know who you guys think it's going to be. It's tough to read. I'm just going to... Guys, we're just falling apart right now. We're just falling apart. But let me know who you guys think is going to be down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I got to go fix a ring light. Go Knicks.